I gave up everything to make my parents proud, followed the path they chose, ignored my own dreams, and carried their burdens without complaint. But in the end, they left me behind for the child who never lifted a finger. I was the dependable one, the child who didn't rebel, the one who swallowed their own voice so my parents could hear their own dreams echo louder. Growing up, I watched my parents struggle. My father, a stern man with calloused hands and stricter expectations. My mother, quiet but sharp, her praise rare, her disappointment loud without even raising her voice. My younger brother, Rehan, was the wild card. Charming, careless, and constantly getting away with things that would have had me grounded for weeks. And yet, I idolized them. My parents, not Rehan. Every time my father said, "Don't be like your brother, be better," I took it like a sacred mission. So, I did. When I wanted to study creative writing, they said, "Writers don't feed families." So I studied finance. When I got a scholarship to a university in another city, they said, "What will your mother do without you?" So I stayed local and commuted 2 hours a day. When Rehan dropped out of college and moved to Thailand to figure himself out, I took up a job while studying full-time, sending money home without ever being asked. Birthdays? I spent them fixing broken appliances. Family vacations? I wasn't invited because you're too responsible, Beta. You wouldn't enjoy it anyway. And still, I smiled. Still, I told myself, they're proud of me. They must be. But pride isn't always loud. And sometimes, silence hides something uglier than disappointment. It began unraveling the day Rehan returned, 5 years after ghosting us completely. He arrived unannounced. Suitcase in hand, sunglasses on indoors, and a smile like he owned the place. My parents cried when they saw him. They cooked his favorite food, cleared out the guest room, and started treating him like a lost king returning home. I should have been happy. I tried to be. Until I saw my name being erased, piece by piece. I remember it clearly. One night, I got home from work, tired, sore, a headache pounding behind my eyes, and I saw my father laughing with Rehan on the porch. Laughing, that wasn't something he did with me, not even as a child. They both looked up. "Tum kabe aye?" My father asked, as if I was the guest. I blinked. "I live here." He chuckled like he didn't hear me. Next week, they moved Rehan into my old room. My childhood trophies were boxed up and stored in the attic. "We need space," my mom said. "Rehan needs to feel at home." When Rehan borrowed my car and crashed it 2 days later, I expected some form of accountability. Instead, my dad scolded me for not maintaining the brakes properly. By the third month, they added his name to the house deed and didn't tell me. I only found out because I saw the papers on the dining table, next to the sweets my mother had prepared. "Sweets?" I asked. "Oh," she said gently. "Rehan will be helping manage things around here now. We're putting him in charge of the family property. You don't mind, do you?" That was the first time I didn't answer. Just nodded. But my mind was screaming. I gave up everything for this family. And now I'm invisible in my own home. The final betrayal came wrapped in legal language. I had taken a week off work to help my parents restructure their savings and tax documents, something I'd done every year since I turned 25. But this time, they were distant. Cold, even. I asked them, "Did I do something wrong?" My mother gave a small smile. "No, Beta. It's just. Rehan has more time now. He's family too." Then I got a letter. A copy of their new will. I wasn't mentioned. Not once. The house? Rehan's. The land? Rehan's. Even my mother's jewelry, promised to me years ago, reassigned. I confronted them. I couldn't hold back anymore. "You're cutting me out?" My father's voice was level. "You don't need anything. You have a job. A stable life. Rehan needs support." I was shaking. "I built your stability. I carried this family while he disappeared." Silence. Then my mom murmured, "You were never really part of the chaos. You just functioned around it." That sentence broke something inside me. I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I just packed a bag and walked out. That night, I made a decision, not out of hatred, but clarity. If they wanted Rehan to carry the family, I would let him. Completely. I disappeared from their lives just like Rehan once had. No calls. No emails. No more fixing the house pipes. No reminders about tax deadlines. No rights to doctor appointments. No transfers when they were short on cash. Nothing. They didn't notice at first. Rehan was still entertaining them with stories, helping himself to the accounts I used to manage, and taking charge poorly. And I waited. For 6 months, I quietly changed everything. I shut down the savings account I had created in my name that they had been unknowingly depending on. I revoked the authorization they had on my credit cards. I disconnected the utilities I'd been paying for: internet, gas, backup generator maintenance. Then I moved. New number, new job, new city. Gone. It took a year before they called. Well, tried to. A string of missed calls, then a voicemail from my mother. Her voice sounded small, like it used to when I was a child and she'd call me to help with the washing machine. Beta. Rehan's made some mistakes. We need your help. Please call us. I didn't. The next month, I got a message from Rehan. I messed up, okay? But you don't abandon your family like this. I laughed out loud, then blocked him. I had no interest in revenge. My absence was louder than any fight could be. But karma, it has its own rhythm. 3 years passed. In that time, Rehan failed to pay property tax. He leased part of the house to scammers who trashed the place. He made poor investments with my parents' savings, trusting friends who vanished with their money. I heard it all secondhand from distant relatives. Then one day, I received a letter, handwritten, shaky script. My mother. She wrote, "We were wrong. About so many things. Rehan was never meant to carry the family, it was always you. And we pushed you away the moment you gave us everything. We don't deserve forgiveness. But if there's any part of you that still cares, please come home." I folded the letter neatly, put it back in the envelope, and slid it into a box labeled Lessons. I didn't go back, but I did drive past the house once. It was dim, windows cracked, lawn overgrown, a fading kingdom left to a careless prince. And in that moment, I felt something rare. Peace. Because I hadn't lost my family. I had finally seen the truth behind it. The peace didn't last long. One rainy evening, as I sipped coffee in my apartment, far from the house I used to fix and the people I used to serve, I received a message from an unknown number. A photo of my parents sitting in a hospital room. My mother's face pale. My father with an oxygen tube. Rehan in the corner, looking as defeated as I'd ever seen him. Then a text followed. "I know you don't owe us anything, but they're not well. And I don't know what to do." I didn't reply. But that night, sleep didn't come. The guilt tried to claw its way back in. The same guilt that had been stitched into my identity for decades. I walked circles in my apartment, arguing with myself. They betrayed you. Yes, but they're old now. They chose him. People make mistakes. You gave everything. And maybe that's why you should stop giving. But something deeper, not guilt, but curiosity, pulled me back toward the wreckage I'd left behind. The next day, I drove to the hospital. I didn't tell them I was coming. When I entered the room, my father looked up, gaunt, older than I remembered, fragile in a way that startled me. My mother gasped, then cried softly. Rehan stood. I didn't hug them. Didn't say anything. Just stood there, letting the silence choke us all. Finally, my father said, "We don't deserve your help." I nodded. "You're right." He blinked. "But I'm not here for you. I'm here because I need closure." He tried to speak again, but I raised a hand. "You all made your choices. I'm just here to see them up close, not to fix them." And I meant it. I spent the next few weeks helping, but not emotionally. just practically. I hired a nurse. I organized medication schedules. I arranged for a part-time caretaker, billed directly to Rehan. He objected, of course. "We can't afford this." I smiled. "Figure it out." He had never heard those words said to him before. In the background, I saw their world collapsing. The house was falling apart, literally and figuratively. There was a lien on the property, unpaid debts. Rehan had borrowed money under my father's name from people no one could trace now. Their health insurance had lapsed. The family car had been repossessed. It was poetic justice. But I wasn't there to celebrate. I was there to witness. And witnessing it gave me something better than revenge. It gave me release. One afternoon, my mother called me aside. She was thinner, older, her voice less certain than I'd ever heard. "I made you into someone who never asked for anything," she said. "I told myself that made you strong. But now I see. It just made it easier for us to ignore you." I didn't cry. I didn't forgive. I just listened. Then said, "You didn't make me strong. You made me silent." I had to teach myself strength after that. She looked down, nodded. That moment, her acknowledgement, was enough. I didn't need anything more from her. As for Rehan, he kept expecting some sort of redemption. Some miracle where I'd step in, take control again, clean up his mess like I always had. But I didn't. I visited less and less. Then not at all. Until one day, I got a letter, this time from a bank. Rehan had defaulted again. But this time, he'd used my name. Forged my signature. He wasn't just a burden anymore. He was a criminal. And that changed everything. I filed a police report. I didn't hesitate. This wasn't about family. This was about identity theft, fraud, betrayal layered on betrayal. Rehan was arrested 2 weeks later. My parents called me in a panic. They begged, pleaded, swore it was a mistake. I didn't budge. "This isn't a family matter," I said. "It's a legal one." For once, they had to clean up his mess. And I watched from afar as the last pillar of their misplaced loyalty collapsed. 6 months later, I received a letter from my father. Handwritten. Simple. No manipulation. No guilt. Just this: "You were always the foundation. And we built our house on sand instead." I folded the letter and placed it in the same box, the one labeled Lessons. By now, it was nearly full. I built my life again, but on my own terms this time. I started a small business helping young professionals manage their finances, teaching them not just about money, but about boundaries, about self-worth, about not giving everything away just to be loved. Because I had lived that lesson and survived it. 3 years later, I stood outside my childhood home once again. It was for sale. Foreclosure. The garden was gone, windows broken, rust on the gate I used to repaint every summer. Rehan was gone. Last I heard, living in another country, trying to reinvent himself again. My parents had moved into a small rented apartment. No property, no inheritance, no backup plan. They had lost everything. Not because I walked away, but because they handed everything to someone who never earned it. And me? I was free. Not just from them, but from the lie I had lived for so long. That love had to be earned. That sacrifice meant security. That family was something you gave your soul to, even if they offered nothing in return. Because now I knew. You can't save people who are committed to sinking, and sometimes, letting them drown is the only way to save yourself. Years passed. I didn't go to weddings. I didn't attend funerals. I didn't send holiday messages. My absence became its own presence in their lives, a quiet void where their good son used to be. I wasn't angry anymore. Just done. And that kind of peace, the kind where you no longer expect anything, it's the most dangerous kind. Because it leaves no space for guilt, or manipulation, or even the illusion of reunion. It just is. But then, one morning, I received a message from a woman I didn't recognize. Subject line: Please read this. I'm sorry. Her name was Zoya. She introduced herself as a social worker at a state-run elder care facility where my parents now lived. She had met my mother first, after a fall. No insurance. No one to call. Then, slowly, she pieced the story together. The lost home, the estranged son, the criminal younger brother, the decades of pressure and unspoken heartbreak. She said my mother talked about me every day. She said she wished she had loved you louder. I stared at the screen, not because I didn't believe it, but because it came too late. I visited the care home once. Just once. They didn't know I was coming. The place was clean, humble, too quiet for people who had lived in drama their whole lives. I stood behind the glass doors that separated the lobby from the common room. And there they were. My mother sitting in a chair, staring blankly at a turned-off TV. My father curled under a blanket, thinner than I remembered, his eyes distant. They didn't look like parents anymore. Just people. Fragile. Small. Human. Zoya appeared beside me. She didn't speak. Just nodded. Do they know I'm here? I asked. She shook her head. I could have gone in. I could have said all the things that had been boiling inside me for years, or the things I buried so deeply they no longer had a name. But instead, I walked away. Because sometimes, the strongest closure isn't confrontation. It's letting silence speak louder than words. A year later, my father died. Zoya called me personally. He didn't leave a will, she said. But your mother wanted you to have something. She mailed it. Just a small brown box. Inside, a pair of old reading glasses. A photograph of me at 10 years old holding a certificate, my mother's proud hand on my shoulder. And a note written in that same trembling handwriting. You were never the second choice. We just didn't know how to love someone who didn't demand it. You made it too easy to forget you were hurting. I sat with that line for hours. Not because I forgave them, but because I finally understood them. They were flawed. And I had lived my whole life trying to earn love from people who didn't even know how to give it. And that wasn't my failure. It was theirs. Now, I'm 38. And I live in a quiet home of my own. No portraits on the walls. No memories I didn't choose to carry. I mentor kids who come from homes like mine. Kids who carry too much responsibility in too small hearts. I teach them how to say no. How to dream loudly. How to leave when staying means losing yourself. And most of all, how to stop bleeding for people who never learned how to hold a bandage. Sometimes people ask me if I ever miss them, my family. I tell them the truth. I miss the version of them I built in my head, the one I sacrificed everything for. Because that version? He never left. She never chose someone else. They never forgot me. But that version was a lie. And I don't miss lies anymore. Because I gave up everything to make my parents proud, followed the path they chose, ignored my own dreams, and carried their burdens without complaint. But in the end, they left me behind for the child who never lifted a finger. And in doing so, they finally gave me the freedom to live myself.